Greetings, it's Top Hat Runner here, and this is going to be a review of the Echo One M4 Fat Mag. Now, it comes in this nice cardboard box, which mine actually looks like it was dropped or something. I didn't do that, it came to me like that. But anyway, onto the magazine. The thing's made of metal. It's the same as a normal M4 magazine, operation-wise. You put the BBs in here, and you wind it. It is, in fact, fat. So you see it's about twice the width of a normal M4 magazine, just a tad longer. So this thing's pretty fat. You know, it needs to lay off those BBs, get outside and get some exercise. But the problem is, this magazine does not work for me. You see, when I put the BBs in the magazine, and then you wind the magazine, after a while it starts to make a bit of a funny noise, and see, listen. Yeah, that right there. So this magazine here will not feed more than about like 20 BBs or something before you have to keep winding it. So if you try and use this in combat when you're, full autoing, you're going to have to be, I'm used to a bullpup gun, so I want to do that, but you're going to have to be winding this magazine while you're shooting, which is very uncomfortable, and you can't wind it enough to keep up with your gun if you're shooting like 15 rounds per second like I do. What that sounds like to me is the spring inside isn't quite, well, you see, so I drew you a diagram. Now, this is a general diagram of how a Hicap magazine works. See, this is the BB reservoir up here where all your BBs go. This is the feeding tube that feeds the BBs into your gun. This is like the outer side of the magazine. And the red parts are the parts that you wind. So like this down here would be this part of the dial here. So when you twist the red dial, what it's actually doing is twisting this leaf spring in the blue gear here that feeds the BBs. So when you twist the red dial, it causes tension buildup in this spring, so that even though it's got all the BBs fed up the feeding tube and all that, you can keep winding it, so it'll keep building up tension in the spring, so that you don't have to always keep winding it for it to work. And this is how M4 magazines work. And if in case you're wondering what this little dot is, that's the anti-reversal latch, which is why you can't wind the magazines backward, and also why they don't unwind on their own. So what I think the problem is the leaf spring, I think it is called. Anyway, you know those weird circular springs? So what I think the problem is the leaf spring in this magazine is not wide enough. Because you see, the leaf spring is not actually attached to the gear. It's kind of freely in there. It's like there are little divots in the gear here so that this part of the leaf spring sticks into the blue gear. But if the leaf spring is not quite strong enough, it will come out of the little divots there and twist around the magazine. And the reason it's like that is so that, when you wind your magazine fully, it starts making that, overwound noise. Well, that's what that is. It's this part of the leaf spring moving to another spot, so that you don't break your leaf spring by overwinding your magazine. So, like I said, what I think the reason this magazine doesn't work is the leaf spring is improperly made. It's a machining or manufacturing error, and the leaf spring's just not strong enough to really hold much of a wind before it moves to the next part. So that's my professional opinion, or personal opinion, of what I think is wrong with this magazine. So I could have gotten a lemon, or all of their magazines could be like this. Maybe it's just this first batch of magazines they haven't worked the kinks out of yet. And usually with Airsoft, you don't want to buy things that are fresh on the market, because almost no companies really seem to be able to make things correctly their first try. And just to emphasize what I mean by not holding a wind is when you let the BBs out, notice how there wasn't really much of a big noise. Like when you usually wind up a M4 magazine fully and let the BBs out like that, it spins for a while. Well, yeah, this magazine didn't do that. So in case for some reason you decide that you want to take your chances, or you've heard that this magazine's issues were resolved and you want to get one later on down the road, if Echo One ever fixes their design, I'll keep reviewing the magazine anyway. Now, this magazine, Obviously, if your gun's mag well is too long, it won't work. The main gun I would be worried about is if you have an F2000. I've never tried putting this gun in F2000, so I don't know if it works or not. If you're wondering if this gun will work in your mag well or not, just measure your mag well, and if it's longer than about 2¼ inches, then it's not going to work. It works well on my Type 97 and 416. My 416's mag well is supposed to be a bit longer than a normal M4 mag well, so this should work in any standard M4 mag. It seems a bit loose. I thought it wasn't going to feed well on my 416 here, but it works. And this holds enough of a wind for me to shoot about 40 rounds through it, or more like 30 actually. So I can tell you that the magazine does feed well enough to keep up with my 416's 20 rounds per second rate of fire. If you're just wondering about how this is going to fit into your vest or something, just the overall dimensions of the magazine, it's about almost 8 inches long here. Standard 2½ inches wide. It's almost, or 1¼ inches wide back here. And I got this magazine to use while at Combat City's North versus South event, which was about like 300 players. I had a lot of fun there. I got some good footage that I'm working on editing. Should be on my channel soon. But anyway, it's not as heavy or as bulky as the 5,000 round A&K box mags, which I do have one of those. The reason I got one of these is to use in my Type 97, which is a bullpup rifle, and the box mag is just really uncomfortable to use in that thing, and it doesn't even work in the gun. This magazine doesn't go up into the gun far enough to feed, and it's just really awkward to use. It almost doesn't look like it would be too bad, but when you're trying to aim down the sights, it's just not comfortable. And that has been my review of the Echo 1 M4 Fat Mag. So in conclusion, this magazine had a lot of potential to be great, but as far as I can tell, it seems to be made improperly, particularly the leaf spring. Maybe Echo 1 eventually will revise their design and make ones that work down the road, but for now, I would recommend not getting one of these. I hope you found this informative, and see you later.